Hi, I'm Melvin Lloyd, Portfolio Manager at INN8, and today I'll give you a quick market overview touching on some of the things that impacted markets during the month of August. We'll then look at the different market indices, both locally and globally, and then finally we'll look at the performance of the INN8 models relative to their respective benchmarks. So just starting with a quick market overview, August was yet another difficult month with only a few asset classes managing to produce a positive return. The ongoing war in the Ukraine continues to impact markets, especially with regards to higher energy prices. And towards the end of the month, we also saw a sell-off in risk assets after the US Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, reiterated that the Fed would continue to hike interest rates aggressively until inflation is under control. Inflation in the Eurozone reached 9.1% in August from 8.9% in July, which represents a new record high. And then inflation in the UK accelerated to 10.1% in July from 9.4% in June. And this is the highest reading since February 1982. Staying in the UK, the Bank of England raised interest rates by 0.5% to 1.75%. And this was the biggest rate increase in 27 years. And then lastly, during the month, economic data out of China showed that the economy is struggling, and that's despite the government implementing more supportive monetary and fiscal policies. If one just looks at the different market indices, again, both locally and globally, and this is in Rand terms up until the end of August, and I'm specifically going to focus on the blue bars, which is the 1 month return. One can see SIIRBs producing a good return of 2.5%. For the month. Global cash also up 2.5%, and that was mainly driven by the Rand's depreciation against the US dollar. And then both SA cash and SA bonds giving you a small positive return for the month. Then if one looks at the risk assets, so your SA equities down 1.3% for the month, outperforming global equities, which was down 2% for the month, and then global property down close to 4%, and SA listed property down close to 5.5% for the month. Now, if we just look at the INN8 models, one can see that over the past month, the majority of these portfolios managed to outperform their respective benchmarks, with only the INN8 Flexible Growth portfolio marginally underperforming its benchmark, given our overweight to both SA and global equities. And if one looks at it over a year-to-date period, essentially since when these models were launched, one can also see that all these portfolios have been able to produce very good outperformance relative to their respective benchmarks. Now, if we just look at notable performers across the different models, and starting with the Amplify Strategic Income Fund, that particular fund we use in the flexible income portfolio, and it was up 0.9% for the month, outperforming both cash and bonds. And the contributors to performance there was their ILB exposure, their South African government bond, and credit exposure also added meaningfully to performance, and then also some of their tactical changes during the month, for example, reducing their SA government bond exposure in favor of ILBs and NCDs. Then the flexible funds continue to benefit the portfolios. Truffle Flexible produced a return of 1.8% for the month, which is quite a good return given the fact that both SA and global equities produce a negative return for the month. And the contributors to performance there was good stock selection and exposure to the likes of British American Tobacco, Momentum, ABSA, and Naspers. Then the next one, the Laurium Flexible Fund, also produced a strong return for the month, up 1.3%. And there they tactically reduced bond duration and equity exposure into mid-month strength, as well as their exposure to ABSA, Momentum, Pick n Pay, and British American Tobacco. And then lastly, the Coronation Global Optimum Growth Fund. That particular fund was up 1.3%, and what the contributors to performance there was the emerging market exposure, with emerging market equities outperforming developed market equities, and their equity protection strategy, specifically the use of index put options. We thank you for watching, and we hope to see you again in October for our next DFM monthly bulletin. Bye for now.
INN8 is a registered trademark of Stanlib Wealth Management Pty Limited, an authorized financial services provider.